So we have Syla here. We're gonna start with an intro, how uh, a player, the side of the player itself, as in your Lostark career, and then I also want to hear your thoughts on the Death Place or Death Blade.
Alright. Hi everyone, my name is Syla. I started playing Lostark about 2 years ago. It was actually when right after Gunsing was released. So
Mm.
I started playing Gunsinger as my main. After a couple of months I made a Search Death Blade while I was starting to learn Hell modes. Cause Gunsinger in Hell mode wasn't that good back. So
Oh,
I started playing Surge and then I was like, holy shit, this class does damage. And then I started raising my Surge Death Blade. I tried to make my Surge Death Blade a main. It pitied a lot, sadly.
nice. I didn't know you were a gunslinger starter like I was, man. That's crazy. I did not know that. Um, so going to the next topic, Surge Deathblade ups and downs. What do you think about Surge Deathblade in general?
The main reason I started playing Surge was that when I was first learning like Hell Valton,
Mm.
there were like teachers, right? All those teachers were either playing Cleaver or Deathblade, and they were pumping damage. I look up to
Mm.
them, and then that's kind of why I started playing Deathblade. So, as I said, even though it's nerfed now, Swords Deathblade
Mm.
is still one of the highest damage dealing classes. I don't say it's
Mm.
the I don't say it's the highest, but it's
Mm.
one of the good damage dealing classes right now.
Mm.
And
Definitely agree. Definitely.
and it's also very good to find parties. Like all the entropy classes will be like they're gonna do unholy things to have be in your party, kind of like Condenser. Good synergy.
Mm. So those are the good stuff. The good stuff about Surge we just talked about.
Right.
What would you not recommend about Surge?
The biggest thing is it's an entropy class, and then surge skill is like 60% of your damage. So if you're not experienced entropy player or you don't like positional classes,
Mm.
surge is definitely not gonna be for you.
Mm.
You're gonna be stressed a lot.
Mm.
And then if you're not a good entropy player, like your damage will literally be about the support's damage. It's gonna be lower than the Gunlancer.
Ouch. Because if you miss all your Surge, right?
Yeah, all you do
Mm.
is just give synergy, which is what supports do. Like you do no
Mm.
damage. Like
Oh, no damn.
I would say it's one of the hardest classes to do actually good damage.
Mm.
When
And we
people
can probably
say
talk
Thirst
about
Death
those
Blade
later.
is yeah, when people say Thirst Death Blade is one of the OP classes, that's only limited to certain people who can min-max and then really pump that damage to the limit. It's a spec character, of course. It's kind of
Mm.
slow, and then even though it has a lot of like mobility skills, you kind of have to use it in the cycle. So you kind of have to rely on your spacebar and then push immunity on your Dark Axel or Sword skill. And then
Mm.
it might be tough when you're first learning raids when it comes to like
Mm.
trying to survive.
Right. So this was the intro, guys, and the next topic is, and then we're probably gonna go to Trickshin and talk about some of the skills you actually use, tripods, and then you have the gems there too, combat set engraving, all these super basic stuff that the whoever who's listening they can have a general idea for it. And then afterwards, another topic is going to be us talking about the playstyle in general, like deep diving, like how what the playstyle should be, like the cycles and all these stuff.
Let's have some good
That's my
offline moments for
that's my style of a girl, dude. That's my
your
style.
future wife.
Dude, I would, yeah, man, but you can't really find it. Okay. So, let's start with looking at the skills from top to bottom, and then I want to hear your thought process on some of the skills that you use.
Well, Surge Death Blades have a pretty fixed skill set, I guess. Most Surge Blades kind of use this skill tree. It's either
Mm,
one or the other.
okay.
The seven skills are pretty much the same, and then either you can use Dark Axel or you can use Moonlight Sonic. Hmm.
Okay, so Syla has a different video that he covers this in detail. So if you guys want more information, it is good to look at his video to see additional information. I said information twice, but you guys know what I mean. So let's talk about some of the skills in general, like a little bit. Like for example, let's start with Windcut.
Well, Windcut is a very low cooldown skill, and then it's one of the skills that you need the tripod level 5 on.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about Surge is that you don't really need like level 5 tripods to do
Mm.
decent damage.
Mm-hmm.
You only need like 6.
So that is because Windcut is the major stack skill, right?
It's really easy to gain stacks from Windcut. It's like a very easy skill. Good thing about Windcut is that you can just cast it and then be AFK dodge patterns, and then it's still gonna generate you free 3 to 4 stacks.
And then let's go to the next one, Spincutter.
So Spincutter is your both synergy and then mobility skill. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's very important that you use your Spincutter with precise aim so that you can position yourself behind the boss. So you're basically trying to gain stacks while trying to reposition yourself in a back attack position. And then you can cast your main skills like Soul Absorber or Blitz Rush.
So what about that quick prep? Is that also included as 6 or?
I would say yeah. Quick prep is also
Mm.
pretty important.
Important, chat, important. And that Dark Axel, you have it over there, is used as a maneuver skill, right?
hmm So
Okay.
Dark Axel can actually jump over the boss, even like Legion commanders.
Mm.
So it's a really good skill to reposition yourself behind the boss. And it's also a push immunity skill. Some of the patterns that might knock you off, you can kind of use that skill to skip it.
And the Swift Finger seems to be like a not a mandatory tripod, but it's good to have because it's speed faster.
I don't personally use Dark Axel that often, so
Oh, okay,
I don't
okay,
know. But
I see.
Dark Axel is not one of your priority when it comes to doing tripod level 5s.
I see.
It contributes like 0 to your damage, literally.
Right.
Just for your safety and repositioning.
Okay. What? That's one of the main DPS skill. The next one is Soul Observer.
Soul Absorber is a both the both one of your main damage skills, and then it's really useful skill when it comes to recovering the bubbles. It's one of the 2 skills that you will use to recover 0 bubbles to 3 bubbles.
And then the tripod's just damage related, so it's not like mandatory, but like maybe second more important.
I would say the Soul Absorber, the last 2 tripods of Soul Absorber is considered one of the main tripods that you
With
want to
a
have.
half, right?
Yeah,
I see. Because it does the most damage, or
it does the most damage.
I see. So you have Gilwin rune there, right? What about the questions of if someone asks like, what about Wolf rune there? Does that help or?
No. Wealth Rune is, I guess only RE Deathblades use Wealth Rune, but Surge
Hmm.
will definitely use Galewind.
Right, because of the casting is too slow, or?
Both that, and then you don't really need Wealth Rune once you get used to the Surge cycle.
Mm, I see. This because the cycle is really important. Okay.
Right.
So what about Earth Cleaver? Next one. This is a counter.
Yep. The sad thing about it is both Destruction, Counter, and then highest stagger skill is all in one skill, which is Earth Cleaver. And then it has a
Ouch.
long cooldown. To stagger, counter, or destruction efficiently, you kind of have
Because
to
it's in one skill, you use it
yeah.
once, right? I see.
And
So if you counter Carligos, you can't really help on the destruction unless you use a Soul Observer or something like that, right?
right. And it only
Okay.
has 2 destruction skills, Soul Observer and Earth Cleaver.
Rip.
What people don't know is that they like to give Voice Strike a damage gem, but Earth Cleaver actually does more damage than Voice Strike.
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Next is the most important skill,
Yep, Maelstrom
Maelstrom. Gotta get the tripod for both of them ASAP, right?
doesn't directly contribute to your own damage, I guess,
Hmm.
but it's nice to have one thingy. I'll say it's a second priority or
Oh, second priority for both?
yeah,
I see. So like the orb control and like the dark order, both of them, right? Like
uh-huh.
level 4. Level 4 is like okay.
Yeah, level 4 should be okay.
Hmm.
Like it's
Okay.
not a direct contribution to the damage. It's a nice to have thing.
Nice
Quality,
to have thing.
yeah, quality of life pretty much.
So you have the Galewind rune over there. Is it okay to have that instead of focus?
It doesn't really matter. I just put Galewind because there's
It's a
not
little
really
faster.
that too, and then there's not really a good rune to use it on Maelstrom, I guess.
So Blitz Rush is the top DPS skill next to Surge, right?
For me, it's the second highest.
Oh.
Soul Observer actually does more damage than Blitz Rush for me.
Oh, okay.
And then this is because I used Dark Charge Tripod. It sacrifices very little damage to gain stacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the boss is like doing a pattern where it's like moving a lot,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't the explosion damage doesn't get registered, and then I kind of lose damage there. And then Soul Absorber ends up doing more damage for me.
For Blitz Rush, you have the vital hit point, and then you have charge enhancement and shadow rush, right? Some people do use dark charge. So you were just explaining about dark charge and charge enhancement. Could you elaborate again?
So the Blitz Rush, the second tripod, I think, right?
Yes, the second tripod is a charge enhancement and dark charge.
Their damage is about the same. Charge
Mm-hmm.
enhancement is stronger by very little percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're assuming that the explosion damage for Dark Charge all hits.
I see. Like,
But
but you
like,
have to be close
yeah,
because the dark charge is like a small AOE around you, right?
yeah, that explosion
Mm-hmm.
damage is a melee range damage, so you kind of have to be right behind the boss's ass
Mm-hmm.
to get that full damage. But
Okay.
good thing about Dark Charge Tripod is that it gives you 2 additional stacks while charging Blitz Rush. So you gain 2 additional stacks, and you can get to 20 stacks much faster.
I see. So, but you would still need to be close to the boss, right?
Right.
So do you think for dark charge versus charge enhancement is more of a preference base as well?
It is a matter of preference, but
Okay.
if you're really looking to min-max yourself and get to that ceiling of Surge Deathblade, I do
Mm.
recommend Dark Charge.
Oh, okay.
Because if you're really trying to get to that point, you gotta be sniffing the entire raid anyway, and chances are your Blitz Rushes are gonna register full damage.
And now we have the last skill, the voice strike.
I would say one of the most important skills, but it's not a good chunk of your damage. It's a very good skill to recover. You can use
Hmm.
Maelstrom and then use Voice Strike, full
Yeah.
charge. Then, well, it's gonna vary by your spec, the stats spec, but it usually gives you like more than 2 bubbles. If you have the tripods and the legendary wealth, it usually gives you a good amount of bubbles.
Hmm.
So, if you're not using awakening pots, if you're not using,
Stimulant.
oh yes,
Yeah.
stimulant. If you're not using one of those when the raid starts, you're gonna have to start with 3 bubbles, and then the way to get 3 bubbles is you either use Maelstrom in your awakening, or
Yeah.
Maelstrom, Voice Strike, and then Soul Absorber. Those 2 skills.
Oh, so you can fill that up with you can fill the full three bubble up by doing one of those two combos, right?
Yep,
Okay.
either one will work.
For voice strike in general, I guess if that is the case, orb control, something like a tripod is very important. Void zone not as much because it's damage related. So another question that I usually get a lot is, when you use voice strike, there are two cases where kind of three is you hold it for full, or there's one time when you just tap it. Could you talk about some of that as well?
So Voice Strike, when you're fully charging it, it gets you more bubbles. So when you're like trying to recover, that's
Mm,
when you should fully charge Voice Strike. But it only if you're only lacking like 1 bubble, so you're almost like 2.5 bubble or 2.3 bubble. Tapping Voice Strike and then just letting go would get you a 3 bubble.
Voice strike tapping and holding would be bubble differences.
Yeah, the bubble difference.
Okay, because I always thought it was like stack based too.
I don't really use Voice Strike for stacks, so
Oh, I see. So voice strike you hold it full is more bubbles versus you just tap it is less.
yeah.
Okay. You basically think of as okay, so if I'm gonna tap it, I'm gonna get the three bubble anyway, so you just tap it. But if you're really behind, you would just hold it a little longer.
So if you're using Dark Axel and not Moonlight Sonic, the chances are you're gonna need to use Voice Drag in your cycle to get to 20 stack surge.
Hmm.
And then that way, you might have to like fully charge it, or it's better if you. There will be some cases where it's gonna be better to just hold it fully so that you can get additional stacks too. Skill tree that I use doesn't use Dark Axel, and then I can use Moonlight Sonic to get those additional stacks that you need
That
from
you
Voice Drag.
need.
So
Right.
In most cycles, I don't really use voice strike at all, oftentimes.
Okay, I see. Right, and then since you mentioned Moonlight Sonic, can we talk about that a little bit? I'm looking at your screen right now. Maybe you can press the skill button.
So Moonlight Sonic is more used commonly by RE Deathblades. It's a good damage skill. But the sad thing about Moonlight Sonic is it's not a back attack skill. Nevertheless, even with that penalty, it does a pretty good damage, and it almost matches Earth Cleaver, and then it's definitely better than Voice Strike in terms of damage.
Wow. Then that means if Moonlight Sonic becomes back attack, it'll be they will go to the moon, right?
It'll be one of the main skills that you want to use for
Oh,
Surge
I
2.
see, I see. So the reason why this skill is not the main is because it's not a back attack.
That too, and then, well, it's Pt.1, yeah.
Okay.
So, let me show you what Moonlight Sonic looks like.
Yeah.
It's a ranged AoE skill,
Mm-hmm.
and since it's not a back attack, it doesn't matter if you're not in the back attack position. Advantages of Moonlight Sonic is it's a range skill. You can get stacks in a range, and then it's also a non-positional skill. So if you
Right.
ever need to,
Get some quick stacks.
yeah, quick stacks, not behind the boss, you can just do this to get additional stacks too.
I see.
Yep.
So, that one, okay, so cool. So we talk about the skills and is there any other noticeable skills that you want to mention within
Um,
Searchblade?
just one more skill. It's actually
Oh, what?
Headhunt skill.
Headhunt.
Very quick stun skill you can use when fighting Proco. I know some Surge Deathblades use this, what is it, Stun Tripod and Earth Cleaver, but it's a Pt.W skill. It takes a long time to cast it, and then if there's a delay when you're casting it, the chances are Proco's just gonna backstep and dodge it.
Right. Is the stun only applied on the shoulder bash only or the after impacts too?
I think it's the shoulder bash only.
Okay. Right. That's
Yeah,
what I was that's what I was curious about just
mhm.
now.
I'm pretty sure it's the shoulder bash only.
Okay. So what would you take the tripods for headhunt actually?
I don't
Would you convert it? Which skill would you replace if you're doing pro kill?
If you're fighting Proco, I would replace it with Earth Cleaver,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can just use the cooldown tripod. Quick hunt it just makes it delay faster, yeah.
Right.
And then the stun duration tripod.
Oh, so you can stun him longer, stun
Mhm.
pro kill longer, right?
The Proco has a 50% reduced cooldown. I mean, what is it? CC duration.
Okay.
So even if with this tripod, it's gonna say you can stun the enemy for 4 seconds. It's only
Mm-hmm.
gonna be stunned. He's only gonna be stunned for 2 seconds.
I see. Well, 2 seconds still pretty good, I think.
2 seconds is still longer than what is Earth Cleaver's stun duration. So
Oh yeah, that seems to be good. So I think some of the pro kill fighters should practice, using headhunt a little more if they happen to go in more. So yeah, that was all the skills for Search Deathblade chat. The next topic is we're gonna talk about the combat stats and engravings a little bit, and other than that, Syla, other than it's a spec crit, but
right.
is there anything else to explain beyond that?
Combat stats, I would say literally everyone would agree that it's gonna be full spec and then secondary crit. When it comes to engravings, most
Mm.
people ask if whether they should go Curse Stall or Kimble Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I tell them is just go with the cheaper setting. So the four main engravings are pretty fixed.
Okay.
Adrenaline, Ambitious Grudge, and Surge. Those are all engravings that you need at level 3. The last one is either gonna be Crystal or Kimble Weapon. They do
Mm.
about the same damage mathematically.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal has a higher average damage, and then Kimble has a higher ceiling damage.
Mm. So
But
yeah, but what about some of the ancient? When you go like ancient, what are some of the thoughts to go for like the highest stuff? Because some of the blade players they're playing for damage, so like sometimes they aim for some of the biggest juicers. So for like a 5 threes and a 2, 5 threes and a 1, some of the
right.
stuff you recommend.
So I know some people sacrifice the adrenaline level unless you have a 9/7 stone, your adrenaline is probably gonna be at level 1 by
Mm.
going 3 by 5 plus 1. But
Mm-hmm.
then you're sacrificing 10% crit chance. I would
Mm.
only recommend you do that if you have a static and then you have like whole shit ton of crit synergies on your party, and then you have a good crit rate bracelet. Cause that
Mm.
10% crit chance is gonna really fuck you up.
Mm.
They think that Gunlaster and Deathblade synergy is that OP, but
Mm.
mathematically, crit synergy, 10% crit synergy is actually a more efficient synergy when it comes to damage increase.
I see. I see. Yeah, those crit synergy is really important. Could you also show, by switching the engraving and show it to you by picture, so that we got some visuals. So that's that. So this is the solid build that you have,
Yep,
for 5/3s.
I have Surge, Ambushmaster, Adrenaline, Kimbo Weapon, and Grudge.
So you're a keen blunt guy.
So what people don't know is when they're building Surge Deathblade,
Uh huh.
they're trying to think about, Crystal and Kimbo Weapon, which one is stronger? But they should just always go the cheaper one, and they get more spec.
Ooh, that's a good point, because at that point for you, keen blunt was cheaper, right?
Kimbo was a lot cheaper, and then I could get higher quality accessories at the same price.
That's crazy, because right now it's backwards.
hmm
Crystal's cheaper right now.
And then thing about Kimbo Weapon is the numbers are gonna be a lot bigger,
Right.
especially if you have like high gears and then level 10 gems. The, those yellow numbers are gonna be a lot bigger. And then my Deathblade is not even that expensive build. I'm
It's
still at all relic.
1580. You 1580. You saw 550 million.
Yeah, I'm only
Woo!
still at all relic accessories, and these are not even purple quality
Oh, they're not even
accessories.
purple. Wow. So you have 1775. It's not 1800, right? Another point that I wanted to kind of talk about on engraving was I get questions on budget engraving, and one of them is like precise dagger. What do you think about precise dagger?
Trash.
Trash? Okay, there we go. We got the answer, man. Also, let's also talk about gem real quick. We kind of skipped on gem.
Oh, gems. First priority level 10 Surge Gem,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rest is whatever. You kind of need what is it? So the main priority is Surge Gem. It's the highest damage increase, and then you're gonna need the damage gem for Syla Absorber and Blitz Rush.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're using like Voice Strike or Moonlight Sonic, you might need damage gems for those, but those are less priority. The
Mm-hmm.
three highest damage dealing skills are Soul Absorber, Blitz Rush, and then Surge.
I see. So you're focusing on those three gems, and then you have the fourth damage gem to cover it up. So what I have is I have 8 cooldown gem and I have 3 damage gems. Is that also okay?
Yeah. Uh, as long as you have the three damage gems for Surge, Soul Absorber, and then Blitz Rush, the rest is
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You can just
Oh,
put
rest is
whatever.
whatever. I see.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good for gems. It's like
Mhm.
it's a pretty budget class for in terms of gems, because
It is,
3
it
gem
is
is
very
pretty
gem
slow.
efficient.
I mean pretty low.
My
Yeah.
cycle wouldn't change if these cooldown gems were all level 5.
Wow. So you kind of have it there so that the when someone like when you apply, they look at you, they go like, "Oh, this purple gem El Cheapo guy." And
Right,
then
of
you get
course
yeah.
people might gatekeep you, but
Yeah, so you just don't want to be shown as El Cheapo.
right.
Mm.
Of course, higher level gems is better. It's gonna be better, but
Mm.
it doesn't really change the. It doesn't really make a huge difference.
Right. So I think from me hearing this, level 7 is okay for cooldown. I think most classes you don't need a full level 10. Like only certain classes do to because it actually helps.
Right.
But in this case, I think level 7 is fine because you do your job properly. Yeah. I see. What about like a level 10 on like Maelstrom or something?
Level
Does that
10.
help?
Yeah, I mean, level 10 cooldown Maelstrom is definitely gonna help you with the quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like whatever.
It's
I don't
like
really have
whatever.
that. Yeah, I don't really
I
have that
kind of
money
feel
to.
that I kind of understand why you would say whatever, because if someone says whatever on these kind of things, it means that you have better parts to spend your money at, because we have limited resources, we have limited gold. if it's important, you always spend the NA loves the min-maxing, right? You don't need level 10 gems. You use that gold somewhere else. That's like the point. So it's good to know that some of the stuff that that we spend gold on, you kind of don't need to do it.
So
That's the
part of
stuff
the
that it's
reason
important.
why I'm saying this is, first, it's just a nice to have one of those skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then second is I mainly play hell modes a lot more
Right.
than like actual like end game contents. If
Mm-hmm.
you look at my death plate, it's only 1580, and then I only got my death plate to 1580 this week.
Mm.
So I'm not really one of those people who try to invest a lot of money and then push for end game contents on like release week or something like
Mm.
that. I
But
don't have
you
the money
focus
or
on like
time.
hell mode and stuff, right?
Right. And in hell modes, you end up just using the book of coordination settings, and then they're all at
Yeah.
level 8 gems.
I
So
see. So it's like a skill. It's like, yeah, that also makes sense because some people who are, they're not really interested in non-equalized content because it costs too much. For example, people like me, like eye level doesn't really mean anything, Chad. Do you know why? Because today Syla, I did a pug party today.
uh-huh.
It was pushing slower than our party yesterday, and our party had all 1600s, including you.
Right.
Right?
Like
On
considering
item
level
level, the
7
gems were
gems.
lower. The gems were lower.
Not even
Today's
LS 30.
party, yeah, yeah, and then in chat, today's party, it was average level was like 1615, and they were all level 10 gems, and it was pushing slower than yesterday's party. Therefore, this game, the skill is actually is a really huge impact on DPS overall DPS. It's like the skill difference is actually a lot bigger than you think, and that's why I wasn't really worried about playing with Syla yesterday, because a hell mode player usually have a real good uptime because they're used to hell mode. So